You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, CBS soap opera fans. This is SoapDirt.com, and we really need to talk about how much Summer Newman and Daniel Romalotti are going to hate their mother on Young and the Restless when they find out what she has done. Let's dig into that because it seems the only inevitable outcome for this scheme is for them to be furious. Right now on Young and the Restless, Daniel Romalotti and Summer Newman are grieving the death of their mother, Phyllis Summers, but things are definitely going to change once they find out she faked everything. In fact, I think that this revenge plan could truly cost Phyllis everything on the CBS soap opera. Right now, she was shrieking at Diane Jenkins before her collapse about how basically Diane took everything from her. In Phyllis's mind, Diane's coming back has taken Jack away from her. It's taken her job at Marquette away from her. It has taken her daughter and son's affection away from her. But let's get real. Phyllis has been causing her own downfall for months now. Yes, she has a right to be aggrieved at Diane Jenkins. Sure. So does everybody that was implicated when Diane faked her death way back in the day. But realistically, Phyllis had driven Jack away even before Diane came back from the dead. He had called it off with her and he stopped sleeping with her, so they were already done. And it was all her lies when she promised not to target Diane that she told Summer that have harmed her relationship with Summer. And what has harmed her relationship with Daniel is her endless interference in his life, going to see Heather on his behalf and trying to make deals for his video game project behind his back. So there are a whole host of reasons that Phyllis is feeling like someone who has completely been pulled away from everything she cares about. And those reasons really have nothing to do with Diane. But Phyllis can't see past that. And so she is working with Jeremy Stark and she has faked her death. So now let's dig into this. Right now on Young and the Restless, Daniel Romalotti and Summer Newman are grieving. We saw Daniel, he's just unhinged. He's mad, and we're going to see more of his anger. He is angry, and he's upset, and he's frustrated. He's going off on everyone. He's demanding answers. Meanwhile, Summer Newman just collapsed when she heard that Phyllis Summers died. And if you haven't figured it out yet, on The Young and the Restless, Phyllis is most definitely not dead. Nope. Not at all. She and Jeremy have worked together to fake her death and blame Diane, which of course is kind of karmic considering that's what Diane did so many years ago. Right now, both of Phyllis's kids are reeling from the news that they have a new stepdaddy, and that stepdaddy is Jeremy Stark. Finding out the same day as their mom's death that she married this jerk is like adding insult to injury, but the hits are going to keep coming for both Daniel and Summer on Y&R. Soon, Summer's mother-in-law, Diane, will become the target of the investigation, and that's exactly how the plan that Stark and his new wife, Phyllis, intended it to go. They have dropped a very obvious trail of crumbs for Chance Chancellor to follow. He could find this trail in the dark. So very soon we're going to see Diane going down and Phyllis going dark. So a few weeks back, I don't know if you're going to remember this or not, but Diane came home and she found Phyllis Summers poking around in the family room of the Abbott mansion. Phyllis had gotten in by telling Tracy Abbott that she was supposed to meet Summer there, and so Tracy was on her way out and let her in, didn't think anything about it. What we did see was that Phyllis came across the engagement ring, so even before anybody else knew, she realized they had gotten engaged, but that's not why she was even there. I 100% expect it to come out that Phyllis was planting poison in the house to implicate Diane. And then she and Stark have taken a blood specimen, likely of Phyllis's blood, and have dosed it with the poison. And then the EMT, who was the sole survivor of this faked accident, I doubt that anybody died in that accident, told Chance about the blood sample being at the hospital, and he mentioned Phyllis whispering poison. So it's not going to be too long until Chance gets that blood toxin report showing poison, and then there's going to be prodding from Jeremy, also probably from Daniel, about pursuing this vigorously. And we're going to see Chance get a warrant to search the home where Diane lives. And that's, of course, the Abbott Mansion, where I believe they're going to find that Phyllis planted whatever substance is found in Phyllis's blood. So we expect spoilers coming, maybe May sweeps, maybe sooner, but maybe May sweeps, confirming that Diane is going to be arrested for murder. Meanwhile, Summer Newman is already upset this week at Diane, and she doesn't even want to look at her because of the animosity between her presumed dead mother and Kyle Abbott's mom. And so the way that this unfolds and the police investigation that's going to target Diane are going to have both Summer and Daniel Romalotti completely believing that Diane is guilty, and it won't help that Jeremy Stark is pointing everything in that direction and keeping up the pressure as Phyllis's presumed widower. So right now, we know that there's a funeral coming for the not-so-dead Mrs. Stark, and that's because Michelle Stafford was filming a cameo video for a fan in her dressing room. She panned the phone around to show that Michael Baldwin, a.k.a. Christian LeBlanc, was sitting in the room with her, and as she scrolled past, there's a monitor on the wall showing what they're shooting that day on the set, and it was her own funeral. There is a blue off-the-shoulder dress photo of her on an easel, and that's, how it is at a memorial. A lot of times they will have that because, of course, there's not going to be any body to bury, so it's going to be a memorial instead of technically a funeral, I believe. And that was a press photo that we've seen of Michelle Stafford. So there is a funeral coming, and at that funeral, and between now and the funeral, there's going to be all this pain and heartbreak that Daniel and Summer are going to be going through. They are both devastated because they weren't getting along with Phyllis at the time that she supposedly died. So they are just going to be racked with guilt. So it's not just that they're grieving their mother's death, but they are going to be racked with guilt. They are going to feel like maybe what they did drove her to these extremes. So they are going to be feeling a lot of personal responsibility and angst. And then at the funeral itself that's coming on Young and the Restless, we are going to see Summer crushed. We are going to see Daniel Romalotti just ripped apart because they really believe their mother is dead. And she is not dead. And that's just truly awful because Phyllis Summers is deliberately tormenting her children. So this begs the question, how does she think this is going to work out in her favor in the long run on Young and the Restless? Because eventually she's going to have to crawl out from under the rock where she's hiding. We haven't seen where she's hiding yet, but we assume she's tucked away at a cabin or a cheap hotel or whatever. And when it does come out that she's alive, are these charges against Diane going to stick? That won't even matter at this point because she is going to face the wrath of Daniel Romalotti and Summer Newman. There's no way to justify what she's done. Even say, worst case scenario, Diane has not changed and she's still a bad person and she maybe did steal Jack, which that stuff, as far as we know, isn't true. But even if it was all true, what right does Phyllis have to torment her children like this? They are going to blow up at her. And the big question is, will Summer Newman ever forgive her mother for lying like this? Can Daniel Romalotti ever look at his mom the same way again after this? Right now, as Phyllis was plotting this fake death thing with Jeremy, she feels like everything was taken from her. But I don't think she even knows the meaning of that word because once this all comes out, everything really is going to be taken away from her. And really, can you blame Daniel and Summer if they truly cut Phyllis out of their life after all this comes out on Young and the Restless? Be sure and come back to Soap Dirt for all the latest on this evolving plot.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.